We really start doing this when we're translating, because there's
I was
actually a
just
lot of
gonna
stuff that
say,
we
yeah,
cover
at this
in translating.
point, those of us still standing,
The translation is really helpful.
we're not like cheating on the homework.
The only reason why I don't do it is because I don't have enough memory.
Yeah, I know.
Ah,
And enough battery. The battery will die before I do
Okay,
it,
so we're talking, so we're in lesson 30, and we're talking about conditional sentences in the present subjunctive of I, me. Okay, conditional sentences. There are 4 different constructions indicating condition in Greek. The first class condition is that of the simple condition, in which the writer or speaker assumes the reality of his premise. The second class condition indicates that which is assumed to be contrary to fact. The third class condition indicates further uncertainty and is the more probable future condition. And the greatest uncertainty is found in the fourth class condition, or less probable future condition. Each conditional sentence is made up of a protasis, which is the if clause, and the apodosis, which is the then clause. Okay, do you understand that? If she brings me a ball, then I will hit it, or kick it, right?
Throw it.
The protasis, if she brings me the ball, then the apodosis, I will kick it. Okay? All right? And so that's what we're dealing with here. All right, so if you go to the chart on 120, you also have a chart on the other side, which is a little different, but it's pretty much saying the same thing. I want you to see up here in Galatians 5:18, okay? This is a first-class conditional sentence. Okay? This is a first-class conditional sentence. So what we have here is the apodosis, or the protasis, is introduced by this, the I. Okay, that's if. Now, in the second class, or the first-class condition, you can also translate that as since. Okay? But if in the Spirit you are led, or if you are being led by the Spirit, okay, so that's my promises right there. Okay? And I can translate that as since you are led by the Spirit. Okay, I can say it that way. Since you are led by the Spirit, and what Paul's saying is, he's assuming that that's true. He's saying, since you are led by the Spirit, okay, then, right? Okay, there is nothing there that introduces that, because in the chart it says that there's none. Okay, so there's no actual particle there. But usually, what you will see in the Greek is there will be a comma that will separate those two. This becomes the apodosis. Okay, so since you are led by the Spirit, okay, then here you what?
are not,
Are not
whatever uppo is.
under law. Okay, now I'm on under law. So you are not under law. Okay, that is a first-class conditional sentence, and that's the way it'll look. This, you have nothing here, but this becomes your apodosis. Okay, you'll notice, as it says in your chart, you have this, and then your verb must be an indicative. It can be any tense, but it must be an indicative. Okay, it can be any voice, it can be any number, right? It can be any tense, but it must be an indicative.
But it can't be subjunctive.
It can't be a subjunctive.
Because otherwise it's not known.
Right.
The subjunctive is should.
Right. Okay, so this is the first class. Okay, now notice over here, if you look at your chart, it says any.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be the verb can have anything. It can be any kind of verb at all. So this should be pretty easy to identify. All right. Now you've got your second class. This assumes, and this is from the mind of the reader, okay? Or the mind of the writer. Okay, he's not saying that this is true ultimately. He's just saying in his mind it's true. This is what he, so in other words, you know, he could be
He might
looking
be
at you and
saying,
saying,
since I know-
you are led by the Spirit, and you might not even be a believer, right? So that's not true, but in his mind, it's true. Okay, so we're not saying that this is true. We're saying from the
The
perspective
writer
of the
believes
writer.
it to be true.
Right, right.
Well, at least the ones he's writing to, that's
Yeah.
true.
Right. So this is somewhat subjective, okay? Now we've got our second class conditional sentence. Okay, now the second class conditional means it's contrary to fact. Okay? This assumes to be true. This is contrary to fact. Okay? Now, what's the verb? The verb is an imperfect indicative or an aorist pluperfect or an imperfect indicative. Okay?
Either aorist,
It could be any of those.
no, I mean either first or second aorist, right?
Right. Yes, either one. Okay? Now, okay, okay, here it is. Here's our verb, right? Okay? And where's our other verb? Did I leave that out? Did I leave that out? Let's see here. I might have left it out.
Good to know you do that too. We'll be translating something and all of a sudden we've gone off the rails.
Yeah, I think I might have left it out. Hang on, let me make sure I'm, let's see here. Okay, we don't have time to do this. Okay. Let's not worry about it. Okay, so what we have here is we have it has to be either an imperfect, an aorist, pluperfect, okay, indicative. Okay, that's what the apodosis must be. Okay, then the prodosis must be. Then the apodosis, notice, it can be an imperfect, it can be an aorist pluperfect,
It has
or
to
imperfect.
match.
Right, it has to match. And what you have here is your particle. That is the then. So if you have this and this, okay, then you have a second class conditional sentence. So if you're looking at your thing, you look at those two things. If you got those two things, you've got a second class conditional sentence. Okay, because if you'll notice, if you go down to the third class condition, okay, you have no on. So the on is going to be a slam dunk that you have a second class conditional sentence. Now you might be looking at your fourth class. Well, the fourth class has an on, but there are no forms of fourth class in the New Testament. There are no complete forms. So it's there, but for our purposes, don't worry about it.
But he's got that 1 Corinthians 15:37 is.
Right, but that's not a complete, it's not complete. It's not a complete conditional sentence. Okay? So that's why I'm saying don't even worry so much about the fourth class condition. All right? And then your third class condition, now you're not even using these, now you're using this. Okay? And you have no on. So if you see this preceding a prodosis, then you're like third class. This is third class. And if it's third class, then that means it's a more probable future. And that means that the verb will have to be a subjunctive verb. Okay? So he should be speaking, and then I will go. And it's more the idea like, it's like,
If he should be speaking.
if he does this, if he does all of this, then I will be doing all of that. So he's speaking of a future probability. Okay? There is doubt because we don't know if it's going to happen or not. You know, but it is a probable future, it's a more probable future, but it doesn't mean it's a certain future. Okay? Now, the conditional sentences, there's actually a lot of detail about conditional sentences. There's a lot that you can go over. Nofer does not do it very much, and also mounts. I read mounts on it. Mounts doesn't do it any more in conditional sentences as Nofer does. So, but it's one of those things that as you're learning it, you'll find more and more and more information about conditional sentences. But as long as you understand this without the on, okay, you got a first class. This with the on, you got a second class. This without the on, you got a third class.
When you say with the on, are you looking at the ending of the verbs?
No,
Am I
I'm
understanding that properly?
looking here.
It's like a particle.
It's a particle. It's an untranslatable particle. It's not
One
translated.
word?
Huh?
It's a word on its own.
Oh.
Yeah, it's what's called an untranslated particle, right?
Part of the,
But when you translate it, you can translate it as a then. You can say blah blah blah, if blah blah blah, then blah blah blah, right?
okay.
But it's used more like punctuation than it is the word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so read up on your conditional sentences. Actually, on page 205, that little insert there, read both of those pages. There's a lot of good information there, far more information than what NOFR normally has. So please read that. I'm not going to read all that for you. Present subjunctive of I me. Okay, you got another one there. Okay, I should be, you should be, he should be, on and on. Okay,
Yeah.
we've been there, done that a million times, and there's some more. Okay, go to lesson 31. Lesson 31. This lesson is relatively simple. It's giving you more pronouns, more pronouns and adjectives, and you just get a bunch of charts. Okay, so the first one in reflexive pronouns, you've got myself. And we've got our little chart there for masculine and feminine in the singular. So you got all those. Now notice you don't have the nominative. You don't have a nominative there.
Because you'd say I, you wouldn't
Right.
say myself.
Right. Right.
Could these be, what was it called, demonstrative? Like, could I say, I myself
Right. Well,
believe,
okay. We'll look at your examples. Do they have an example here? I don't have any examples. Do they?
not really, not take it to the plural.
Okay, just think about it as, let me see, reciprocal. Yeah, they don't have any examples. Why don't they have any examples? Okay, well, you'll see them, and it'll, so you've got myself, you've also got yourself and
So you
herself.
would never see ego amount to, I myself.
No, if you saw an ego, then what you would have more than likely is the autos, the third person personal pronoun.
Okay, yep.
Right?
Okay, yep.
That it's intensified. Remember, there's an example
Yes.
there where I actually used ego autos, and it was I myself,
Yeah.
or did it say I myself? I think it said I myself, right? But that's in the nominative, right? That's in the nominative, and then you use the ego is nominative, and then the autos is nominative. Here you don't have a nominative. So, okay, so you have you got myself, yourself, and her, him, her, or itself, and those endings these are things you've seen 1,000 times, right? Everything we would normally expect. You also have the plural, and the plural, notice the plural is for all persons, whether we're dealing with my, your, or her, him, or him, her, or it. So you use the plural would be used with all of those.
So when it
Overall,
becomes
the same.
plural, you have to depend on the context to figure out whether it's he,
A
she,
plural,
or it.
it would either be our, if it's
Yeah, so I
the
guess there
first.
really is no gender once you're
Our,
plural.
your, or theirs. Our, your,
And
their.
and so when we translate it, it doesn't even carry the idea of gender.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then you've got the example there. You can see how that works in a sentence. For we are saying these things concerning ourselves. So you can see where that reflexive pronoun is there. All right. Reciprocal pronoun. The reciprocal pronoun shows the interchange of action between the elements of a plural word. It appears in only 3 forms in the New Testament, and those are the 3 forms there. and it is translated each other. Okay, we are rejoicing with one another, or we are rejoicing with each other. Okay, so you can see how that particular pronoun works with the noun. And if you'll notice the noun there, okay, you have the noun, we are rejoicing, okay, and then it's a dative. They use a dative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are not being rejoiced. Okay? I mean, the action isn't terminating on us. It's just that we are rejoicing with one another. That's the dative, right? So it functions kind of like an indirect object, right?
So you don't say with, there's not a word for with. It's just in
Yeah, you
word.
would. Yeah, you just supply that. Well,
Of or from
Yeah.
is what a dative would be, right?
no, that would be a genitive.
You're right, in by two.
Yeah, in by two, and with can be used in the as an alternative to one of the in bys or twos, right? Okay, the reflexive idea may also be shown in Greek by the use of the reflexive pronoun and the middle voice, both again using the plural. Okay, and you see those the examples up top there. Okay. Let's see, irregular adjectives. Some adjectives deviate from the regular formation of adjectives in several different ways. A few which follow the regular formation analogy with the endings of the article also includes some short forms such as megas and great. Okay, so you've got those. Look over on your paradigms. You've got your paradigms right there. These are irregular adjectives which are great, much, many, all, every. Okay, you see them there? And you'll run into those quite often, okay? You'll see these continuously all the time, right? So you will be going to your book looking for those. Actually, now you're going to be looking in your dictionary for them. But what I would encourage you to do is keep your know for close, and see if you can identify these in your charts, because it'll help you to remember them, okay? Now, I want you to notice at the bottom of page 127, they give an example of how you would use this pos, all and every, with a participle. So if you see pos, ha, pistuon, everyone who is believing. Okay, that actually comes from John 3:16. When we all often say, whosoever believes, right? This is actually the exact construction that you find in John 3:16. Right? And so Jesus is essentially saying everyone who is believing. We translate it whosoever believes. But in reality, it's everyone who believes, which actually conveys a slightly different meaning, doesn't it?
It links better with election.
Well, yes, it does in that regard. But whosoever gives the idea that everyone can. But that's not really what Jesus is saying. And Jesus isn't trying to make a point there. He's not trying to make that point, right? All he's trying to say is everyone who believes, this is what's going to happen, right? So everyone who believes has eternal life. Will not perish but have eternal life, right? And we all understand that. Election notwithstanding, right? But there is the sense in which whosoever at least implies, and perhaps it's just because of the way we've always used it, implies that everyone can.
Yeah.
But by saying pos, we're saying everyone who, not whosoever. Whosoever does.
The belief's
but
coming
everyone
first, not
who.
the person.
Right. Whoever does this is what the result will be. Basically, is the way it is. Okay, and then we have an example on how it's used as an attributive adjective. Ha pos, so the whole crowd. The whole crowd. You wouldn't say the every crowd, but you would say the whole, or you could say all the crowd, something like that. Okay. On the next page, true, alathase, which is again acting as an adjective. So it's not like truth, but it's actually true.